everyone, and welcome to Pace Yourself. Today we're going to be talking about Claude Code and how to use it to make a Lightning Web Component, or an LWC. So you can see here I've got my VS Code open and it's in the Pace Yourself developer environment connected via the Salesforce CLI. And in Claude Code here I like to talk to it in natural language, but you can also talk to it in terminal mode if you prefer. So I'm going to go ahead and click into my chat bar and post my original prompt, which will just be super short and sweet because I wanted to trigger its planner agent within inside Claude, which is a built-in component and sub-agent for Claude. And ultimately we want to create a relationship health card on a contact page or account page. And it shows the last activity for this contact and then references it as a flag of like red, green, or amber if nothing has been talked about or to this person in the last 30 days. As always, I will always finish with my ask me anything clarification question, so Claude can get the best idea and not make any assumptions. So it's going away and looking at how to first get this up and running. So you can see here it's actually picked up that there is a current component on the contact record that's called Contact Profile Card. It's using it as a precedence to see if it actually can be reused or we would like a new one because it's not fit for purpose. You can see that it's triggering the planner agent to help scope, and you can actually click into the prompt that it's giving the planner agent to talk about the scope and discuss the solutions. Okay, great. So it has actually said that it has finished with the planner agent and now is looking at the recommendations for the Lightning Web Component. So it's popped up with a few suggestions or questions, like it says, ask me any clarifying questions that I did at the beginning of my prompt. So the recommendations above actually does call out that the standalone relationship health card is the preference over the contact profile card here. And that's purely because they both are very different use cases. So it actually acknowledged that and will go ahead with the recommendation for a standalone one. So here in our questions box, this is actually where your human in the loop comes into play. So this is where you're very useful in what you're doing with Claude, and you should know the answers to these questions based on your knowledge of the org. So as you can see, it's asking us about the contact last activity date, whether that should be what it runs this whole calculation off, or should it be computing the max across the three objects we referenced and actually calculating that instead of using this last activity date. So this next question is open case. How do we determine what an open case is? And how do we determine the contact that we're on is linked to that case or not? So the first one is option is if the case is closely linked using that case ID, or do any cases of the account also get referenced on this contact, which is probably what I want. So I'm going to go ahead and click the second option here, which is using that account level case as well. So the next question we're talking about is should the email message actually be queried or is it a task? So as you know, in Salesforce, if you're sending an email message out of flow or code, you're most likely going to use the email message object. But if you're using like a product or a package, they sometimes make a task an email message. So I do want to include email message object. So my option here will be number 2. So here we're going to talk about the color coding. Does it want to do under 30 days or over 30 days and stick to just 2 colors? Or does it want the 3 colors like I talked about in my original prompt? And then the third option is actually calling out that it has found that previously I like to use metadata types in my org. So it's referencing the custom confetti theme, and that is 100% what I want to do because I want to be able to use the UI to control the days and reference what green, amber, and red will be so that you don't have to update code. You can just update a metadata type. So I'm going to go ahead and click this one, which is the metadata type. Perfect. So now I've submitted those answers. It's going to go ahead and use that information I've given it and look through the org to try and find how the best way to build this will be. Okay, so it's popped up with a few more questions. The first one we're talking about here is, would it like me for it to build the Lightning Web component and Apex, or would it like me to build the Flexi page, including the Lightning Web component? Which I don't think is necessary. I'm happy to just drag and drop, so I'll go with number 1. The second one here is, should the security be enforced? So field level security, it's talking about here writing the Apex, and when in doubt, always use security enforced, because if you think about it, if we don't use security enforced for field level security or record access, we might be exposing a case from an account that this contact is part of, but we as users don't have permission to see that case type. So if we build a Lightning Web component that can see all, not just with security enforced, you might risk actually exposing more records to a user than you're expecting. So definitely stick with yes with security enforcement on the top. So I'm going to go ahead and click submit answers and let Claude mull away at that. Okay, perfect. The plan has come together. So the Claude subagent plan and Claude Code here have grouped together to create this plan on the right hand side you can see here. This is where you play the biggest role. As anyone in Salesforce, you need to understand the plan. If you've asked it to design something for you and you blindly press go and accept, you're just asking for trouble. So you have to understand this plan thoroughly before you can actually come back and click accept. You can make amendments to this plan actively in your session. So you can say keep planning, or you can read through it and just mark down some bits that you want extra clarification on. I often do that around a result outcome. I'll say, please explain this one a bit further before I'm happy to pass that one over. But I've gone away and had a look at this plan, really understood it through and through, and I'm happy with how it sits. So I'm going to go ahead and click yes and auto accept this plan. So I really want to call out this part of Claude here that's saying update to-dos. It's actually really fun for it to just actually create the items that it needs to do and then mark them off as it goes. So look out for those ones because you can keep an eye on how it's progressing through its build really easily by just seeing that. So here it's actually showing us that it's found some bugs in its own tests that it's doing, and it's actually creating them on the fly and then correcting them itself once it sees things that should be edited. So it is quite autonomous to keep it going, and it doesn't need much changes from the user live in the session. Great. So now it has stopped and Claude is asking us to confirm we want to deploy it. It's telling me that it passed all 8 tests it ran with a code coverage of 84.9%, which is great. So it is actually holding here and doesn't deploy wildly to your org. You do get that one set of controls here. But yes, I'm happy for it to go. So I'm going to click yes, deploy now. Great, so now it is done. It is deployed and tested into my org, my developer org. It lists here what is live. It does call out 2 things that it had to fix midway through the process. And it also provides us a next step on what we should do next, which is add the Lightning Web component to our contact Lightning page layout and see what they look like. Okay, so we're opening our contacts and we've chosen one. So let me go to the page layout up here on the right, go down, edit page. I'm going to click over onto the left, hide all the standard components because we're just looking for one of our custom ones. And as you can see here, the one called Relationship Health Card is exactly what we just built with Claude. And it gives us a nice little preview there on the left-hand side. Going to hit save. I'm going to head back to our live record page for our contact. Now you can see our Lightning Web component is showing up here as red because there's no activities logged. So let's go ahead and log a call. So this call will just be, let's say we're talking about new products that have come onto the market for them. Click save. So it has updated, but it didn't update the Lightning Web component. So we would like it to refresh whenever it sees records related to it. But if I hard refresh, you can see here it has now updated to green and can notice that there was a call logged today. But it doesn't look great. Like, gotta be honest, it's not the snazziest Lightning Web component I've built. So what I would be doing next is putting it into Claude Design and making it look that much better. But for now, we have built a Lightning Web component and deployed it to our developer org. So tune in next time for Pace Yourself, and we'll talk about how to use Claude Design to make this look even fancier. Thank you, and see you on the next one.